So we promised you cars, we gave you cars. We promised you a guest, and we will give you a guest. So join us today in episode 8 as we chat to Stephan Wearne about everything cars, but mostly Alfas. So I promised myself I'm not going to say this is an exciting episode because I feel I've been saying this is an exciting episode since episode 1.
Yeah, you've been saying the same thing over and over again.
Often I feel that can be mistaken for 2 reasons. Either it isn't as exciting as we'd like it to be, or it just gets redundant. Like later on you just say, it's exciting, it's
what's
exciting.
The point of saying it's
like,
exciting?
Okay, cool. Like what's different?
Yeah, Martin goes again. I mean, what's the point?
Really? So we are not that exciting. It's usually the guests we get on that are exciting. But so this is a dead average episode.
Dead average?
Yeah, more close to uncool than anything else. So now, subliminally, we are setting the expectations low.
Okay, so we start low and then we build it up from that. Clever thinking, Martin. I like this.
So if you didn't get it the first time, welcome to On the Overrun. We are excited. No, we are not excited.
We are not excited.
We are
don't jinx it now.
Just here shooting an episode in
the company of some fantastic automobiles.
Yes, we have some good cars around us. We promised you cars. We gave you cars. We promised you a guest. We even have a guest today. So that is awesome. Luke will introduce him shortly. But we are so glad to have you here. I don't know if you're eating your breakfast, if you just finished your dinner.
Having some champagne in the bath or whatever.
Yeah. Your post-dinner bathroom break, I don't know.
Exactly.
But we are excited to have you here. This episode will predominantly be, I'd say, educational. So not really informational in the terms of
you can't quote us on anything that we say in this podcast.
So majority of the factual information that will come to your side will be from the guest side, because Alfa Romeo may be the topic of discussion today, and I'm not a massive Alfa fan. I don't want to point fingers,
but you can see how he's dressed up as well, you know. And we'll get to that shortly.
This is not a Porsche. That is not a Toyota.
Exactly.
But we're excited to start this episode. So Luke, you may take it from here. But firstly, I want to challenge you. There's a 67% higher chance that someone does something if you dare them. So I dare you to share this video with someone.
We dare you. We all dare you. Yes.
But anyway, Luke, you may take it from here.
Great stuff, guys. Welcome. The guest we have today is a family member of mine, Stephan Wearne, probably the biggest Jeep and Alfa fanboy that I know. If I'm allowed to put it that way, is it fine if I...
if the shoe fits, I wear it.
If the shoe fits, there we go. As you can see, he's got his Alfa attire and his Jeep hat and everything. So, but thank you so much for having us here in your workshop. The livelihood of what you do from day to day, probably, I would say, and keeping yourself busy with all these wonderful machines that surrounding us and in this whole shop. I suppose we can just start off by telling us a bit about yourself, where you would say your passion for cars started, first cars, anything like that, just to give the listeners and the viewers a background.
The introduction.
I didn't really know what started it off. My dad, I've heard my dad saying a few times that I was born with a chrome spanner in the mouth.
Not a silver spoon, a chrome spanner.
That is a good one.
Very classy. I've just been into cars for as long as I can remember. Maybe it's in the genes. My grandfather was a mechanic. My uncle was always was messing around with cars. My youngest motoring memories was on holidays. I used to make a plan I want to go stay with Grandpa because they rented a house on a farm, so that was already first box ticked. And there was this huge shed full of old cars and car parts and whatever, and there was always stuff happening. My uncle was studying engineering at that stage, and at one stage he had 2 Mini Coopers. And I was a Mini fan.
Of course, the second one was yours.
My first car was a Mini that my dad actually bought when I was 2 years old. I don't think he intended to buy it for me.
Somewhere along the line.
I just worked it out that way.
You managed it.
So, I'm quite privileged. I still own my first car. It's tucked away in the garage, very patiently waiting for its turn in the restoration. I think it's probably given up, shame. But it's older than me. It's a 1967 Morris Mini Super Deluxe.
Wow. Sure.
I discovered later it's actually quite special because it's an Aussie spec, so it means it's a Mark 1, which is the one with the little round taillights.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have those horrible sliding windows that the Mark 1s had. It's actually got roll-down windows.
Okay, so it's a bit of a mix.
So it's actually a higher spec than what you get in the UK, which is quite ironic. Yeah. So, so that's where it all started. Excuse
the creaking. Yeah, there are a few ghosts.
Ghosts in the warehouse.
Rumbling around
in the shop.
Italian ghost probably.
So that's where it all started as minis. Somewhere along the line, I became a BMW fan. Never owned one.
Yes, man. Get there.
And then I discovered Alfa Romeo, and my eyes went open.
He hasn't discovered Porsche.
A BMW not too long ago. Yeah.
Okay. Which was
I owned my first BMW. I owned for 2 days.
Oh wow, that's just shows the reliability again, Evija. But yeah.
And the second one I owned for about 6 months. What brought it on was I broke my ankle. You should never climb out of the Jeep when you're on a trail. Just stay in the Jeep.
Stay in the car.
It's the safest place to be, especially if you're wanting to point out lines to your mate.
Oh no,
you're likely to land out flat on your back with a broken ankle.
Rather not.
Lesson learned. Moving on.
Yeah, free pointer. Just stay in the Jeep.
You can write that down, guys. That's something you can quote us on.
Yeah.
So, the need arose for a automatic. I did start using the Jeep, but it just got too expensive. At that stage, I was still working in Stellenbosch, living in Kuils River. And I realized it was going to be cheaper to buy automatic and sell it again than to have a lot of fun every day, but just bankrupt myself. I'd be working just to get to work. So I started hunting for automatic, bought a BMW. Funny that excuse, I scratched the itch. But I wanted a wagon, couldn't find one.
Of course.
Definitely.
And got desperate and bought a sedan. Got home and found a wagon.
Yes.
Okay. That's fine.
And I've got a thing about wagons, as you might have noticed.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we both
we
the
agree.
same with
we
wagons.
are 100% on that bandwagon.
Wagons are cool.
They're fantastic.
They're just cool.
I'm not saying this is not cool.
Well,
but a wagon
is registered as a station wagon.
This thing is registered.
On e-Natus, they regard this as a station wagon.
Wow. Okay.
So that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Okay. That falls.
e-Natus even knows.
Yeah.
So so I bought this E46 318i BMW Touring. 318. I knew at the time I should be buying a 6 because BMW, you buy a 6-cylinder, but my reasoning, I'll have a word with the ghosts if they get too unruly.
Ridiculous.
But my thinking was, you know what, I need to sell this and I mustn't enjoy it too much. So it's going to be easier to sell an economical car and it'll be easier to let go.
Of course. No emotional attachment.
And that's basically, but I'm afraid it did cure me. It was nice, but it cost me a lot of money.
No, understandable. It's fine. It's fine.
It cost me a lot of money. So the BMW left and the Alfa Sportwagen stayed.
And did you just one day hop upon an Alfa and think, wow, this car is stunning, and then you bought it, or was there something else that you would say initiated
the... That's actually an interesting story. Wow, these ghosts are active.
It's a Sunday. I don't know why they're working.
So, no, it's actually it's...
Just, I don't know why about it.
He won't pick it up. He won't pick it up. Yeah.
Anyway, so my first car was also my student wheels.
Oh, of course.
So one day coming back from writing exams, and Stellenbosch University thought it was seriously cool to let students write 3-hour exams on a Friday night.
Well, it still
I did that on a Saturday in matric as well. So we wrote 3 hours and 3 hours. So it hasn't changed.
But the
university, I hope you're listening.
The 3-hour Friday night sessions, I would say, is not worse than the Saturday afternoon sessions just before recess. But I mean,
that's
so
life.
throughout the generations,
I'm not
we
studying,
suffer.
But for you, Martin.
yeah.
I can
For me, I can still
yeah.
vouch that it is a pain.
It's not so
throughout
nice.
the generations. But anyway, students.
So, yeah, I found myself driving home in the dark, and the Mini had great lights. It just didn't have great speed.
The Aussie spec, of course.
Aussie spec.
Aussie.
Good old Lucas seal beams. The wiring harness smoke hadn't yet escaped. There's something you can look up on the Google Lucas wiring harness smoke. You can actually buy it on eBay.
Nice, no?
Okay.
Yeah, I digress. So anyway, thinking, well, it would be really cool to have a slightly quicker car, but it was like, And anyway, long story short, I was paging through the Worcester Standard on the Saturday.
As you do.
As one does. Looking at the car ads, and I said to my mom, "Ma, check here. There's a 1980 Alfa Romeo advertised for $2,500, I think it was."
What?
No, that's peanuts.
I was about to say, it's still, I mean...
So my mom said, "Well, why don't you go have a look at it?" I said, "No, well, I'm going to pay for it." She says, "Well, at that stage, I'd inherited and fixed up my grandfather's Mini, so I had another Mini." She said, "Well, you can sell the Mini and you can pay for it." So,
sounds like a tough one.
Yeah, long story short, I landed up actually buying that car. So as things worked out, that was the Friday, the Monday, the Sunday night I went through to varsity with my dad's car so that I could come back the Monday and fetch the Alfa.
Okay.
2 days before my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
Yes. Just imagine that feeling.
Yeah, that was seriously awesome. And yeah, that was my first Alfa. I had it for 3 months. Sold it
3 months.
Sold it to a buddy for huge profit.
Oh, wow.
And he was nagging me for it, by the way. Bought the second one, drove that for 6 months, sold it at a huge profit.
Yeah.
And then I bought number 3, which incidentally I still have, simply because I don't have the heart to sell it. That was Giffy.
Giffy.
Yeah.
That's poison for the English people.
For the English people, yeah.
That was my student wheels, and it just stayed my student wheels. I used to, I had a tow bar on. I used to buy up Alfa suits all over Cape Town.
But the tow bar, of course, is for going camping and towing a caravan, because that's what you use Alfas for.
Exactly, for caravanning.
No, I used my Fiat 131 for that until I got my first Jeep. But anyway,
that's not the point.
I used to do those wonderful things when one's young. I used to borrow an A-frame, bolted to the front of a broken Alfa suit that I picked up for next to nothing. And I'd throw avgas in the Alfa because it was slightly modified, and so
slightly.
I couldn't get high enough octane, which was fine unless you were towing something. So I'd top it up, put a tank of 102 octane in the tank, go hook up the car Alfa that I'd bought, tow it through to Worcester, and weekends I'd fix Alfas and I'd sell them to my pals.
What? Yes, see.
So.
I suppose that's a good way to start it.
That's a good way of integrating your passion.
It's making me think of that, like being your first with the Mini and then the Alfa after that, and compared it to what we chose as first cars if we had the chance. And just quickly run this by you, and then we'll take a bit back to our first podcast and have your opinion on what you think about some first cars.
Well, of course, we had I don't know if you watched the episode, but we had a sensible and not so sensible option.
You pick up your girlfriend at her parents' house, and the other one that you don't go near her parents' house with at all.
Yeah.
And I started with a 3.5 liter Pajero, a V6, with the petrol, not the diesel, 96 and 97, I don't know about that. And then the not so sensible was a E30 BMW, 87 model, I think.
Yeah, it was old.
It was old. I don't know. It had some bodywork done that looked a bit sketch. So do you think that's good options, or do you think that's a cause for concern?
I'm gonna digress and sort of answer your question. What is cooler than a 325 E30 wagon?
A 333.
Well,
I never built them, but doesn't need to stop anymore.
Well, I saw actually that a company in Cape Town sold a 333i E30, of course, and that was actually South Africa's version of the E30 M3 that never came to South Africa. Yeah. So it was a collaboration between Alpina and BMW South Africa
to develop the South African version of that.
But I do agree. Like, I'm not a major BMW fan, but a 325i E30, like, it is a very cool car.
Yeah. Well, remember they did build a 333i BMW.
Yeah. That I'm talking
but
about.
But it wasn't the wagon.
It wasn't the wagon. No, that's the thing.
It could be pretty. That would be really.
But I'd even go for the coupe. If I could get it
I could get your hands on one like that. And Martin, what is your?
Oh no, nothing's as exciting. Mine was a 2015 Ford Fiesta.
Yeah.
But it was automatic. I wanted to make sure it was automatic because I was thinking, of course, student car. When you're driving in Cape Town or Joburg, well, not that Joburg really has as much problems in terms of that, but the hills and driving over Table Mountain, you don't want to struggle with a manual. Exactly. I remember driving with my mom's Polo to visit a friend who lives in Camps Bay, and we were standing in traffic for about half an hour. Now this was not this was your typical stop-start traffic. So you drive away. Every 15 minutes you'll shift to second and then just quickly back to first. There was no letting loose and such. Now the clutch is in good condition, but after quite a while the clutch is getting hot and you feel like it's not going to slip, but you start stressing.
You're worrying about that for a bit.
That's not something I want to struggle with, and also not in traffic. And so I just don't have to. I'm not going to drive my 2015 Fiesta unless it's a ST. In a spirited way, it's not meant to be. But the other one was very unsensible. I decided to take a Landini tractor. It was a HC80.
Yeah,
Good.
HC80.
It was the equivalent of what you would say to the Aussie spec, on your Mini. That was I don't even know. I don't know.
The reason you bought it was because parking and speed bumps in Stellenbosch.
Yeah, of course, and you can just tow a petrol station behind it.
Yeah, you just pull the petrol station with you.
But I must mention, so this is behind the scenes. Nobody knows this, but I gave Luke, was it 100,000 for each?
Yeah, no, we said 120,000 rand.
Yes, so 120,000 rand. That was the brief. So 120,000 rand for your first car, but that was each. So you're sensible and you're unsensible.
Both of them cost together 120,000.
He thought,
and he got 120 for each of them. So.
And I saw the Pajero. I was like, do people buy that for 120,000?
No, they cost 60, maybe 50.
I was like okay,
about there,
misunderstanding, but that's also fine. My car's on much better, but I wouldn't mind. I know also a very highly esteemed or highly acclaimed motoring journalist, Chris Harris, now on Top Gear. His first car was also a Mini. Loves the Mini. And Mini still has the olden days racing series going on. You'd see it Goodwood Revival.
I think it's a great first car to get for someone because you can't necessarily speed in the best sense. It depends on what you do with it, obviously.
By his reaction, there are ways.
There are ways and there are means. I know that. What I'm talking about is if you get a stock one and it's your first car and you don't know what you're doing, it's a stay out of trouble car in a sense, I would say.
Yeah.
But,
you can even,
assume nobody misses you and drives over you.
Yeah, that's the other thing. That's especially with this. I mean, probably won't be the best if a Mini and this collided.
But I think in terms of first cars, I know a lot of people, especially I think more towards your generation of people, because the first cars we have, it's not something to get emotional about. Let's be honest. Polo, Fiesta, Clio, it's not something to get emotional about. But if you got your first car in the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, you had some really cool cars that even today, actually you look back and say, wow, that's quite special. So one of my friend's dads, and hopefully I get the chance to drive it next week if all goes well, he has a MC GT. So
MGB GT.
MGB GT. I know it's an MG and I know it's a GT, so it's probably MGBT because that's only, I don't know the car, that's just what he said, so he may be wrong, but it looks beautiful. It looks like Jag designed that car, and that's precisely the same with the Mini, I'd say also. Even getting an old Alfa. Now, I don't know of many people who get old Alfas as first cars, but just you saying now you still have that Mini, and it's, some that hopefully in the near future going in for its restoration, going to its original glory. I mean, that's really that is something to get emotional about. That is something very special. So
it's a story that you connect to having that experience and thinking, this is my first wheels and now I'm free. You can have to ask mom or dad, hey, can I borrow the car now quickly? You can just take your car and go. Yeah. And then that connection that you make to it, I think, is a big thing that carries through to that. But
so does this inspire you to get the restoration ongoing?
Yeah, it's actually something I've been thinking about. The problem is I've got the shed full of projects now.
Oh, of course.
Start with. So
of course.
So how many Alphas do you have now? Is it like it's a?
I didn't ask him how old she is.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Fair enough.
Straightforward. Let's get through it.
Too many, but that's fine. You know, if it's a passion, then it's a passion.
But in terms of projects, I just need him to explain this. So this Jeep behind us, we just heard it recently, well, not too long ago, and we actually saw the engine, heard what it entails and what it has included. You know, not even he knows everything that's inside that car, but it's quite a Frankenstein. So if you'd like to explain a bit what is going on behind us.
What you can, at least, yeah.
What you know of.
Now, the Jeep was actually built by a gentleman by the name of Ron Herman, American guy. He had a Jeep shop in George, Herman Automotive. And this was his personal wheels. So he built this for himself, obviously, and he also did competitions with it. And he was a little bit sneaky. He didn't want to take part in the fully modified class. So to stay out of fully modified class, you weren't allowed to have lockers. Now, these Jeeps are quite useful because they've got a limited slip diff in the back. So if you know how to use it, it's almost as good as a locker. And one of the tricks he got up to, he actually took the Grand Cherokees, the later model Grand Cherokees have what they call quadra drive, which is essentially a limited slip that is activated by oil pressure, and he built it into the front axle. So it's almost got lockers front and back,
Unreal,
but if you jack it up and you turn the wheels, you can't tell.
Yeah.
So he won all sorts of competitions and stuff with it. It's got long arm suspension on. It's got it's a 6.5-inch cross country, rough country lift. I don't know what all has been done to the motor. I know it's got Mustang valves in, and it's got Mustang injectors in, and it's got roller rockers in, and it revs up like the Jeep XJ engine isn't supposed to rev up.
Yeah.
And it's just a hoot to drive.
Drive to the petrol station, of course. To go fill it up again.
You can make about 350 k's between petrol stations if you're having fun. If you're having moderate fun.
Moderate fun, not too much.
So but it is a hoot to drive the biggest laugh is people's reaction to it. I used to drive it to work sometimes when I was still working in Stellenbosch, and just for the fun of it, just drive home through town. And just like
everyone's like, what is going on here?
What? So that's the most fun about this Jeep is actually just people's reactions. It makes people smile, and it's actually quite special.
To have that. So and thinking about like everything that's been done and what you've done with the Jeep, is there anything that stands out to you, a trip that you did or an experience that you had with this Jeep that's particularly noteworthy? Or
ironically, my Jeep memories are not really in this Jeep, except if you're referring to my little revving competition with a certain Jeep with a Lexus motor.
Shall not be named.
And this was louder, by the way.
Yeah, my really special memories was actually in my previous Jeep, which I said goodbye to yesterday, which was quite sad. Which I had for 11 years and 3 days, believe it or not, because my wife said to me, how on earth do you remember the day you bought it? But when I was signing the docs for the Jeep, it just hit me between the eyes. I bought it on the 9th of the 9th, 2009.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that is some time ago.
Yeah.
Where were you the 9th of the 9th, 2009?
Send us a message and fix it together.
I can't remember.
Yeah, so that Jeep has gone through water in the Transkei, with the water literally up to here.
Yes.
And okay, it wasn't nearly as high as this Jeep.
Yeah.
But as somebody that was fairly new to 4x4ing, it was like, I actually said to the Jeep, you get me through here, I won't ever sell you. And now I've actually sold.
You've done it.
So he's gone to good mates. So.
You'll be able to see him every now and again.
And I've got a first option to buy him back. So.
Fantastic.
Of course. He misses too much.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a story with a Jeep.
That is quite special. So, of course, the topic of the hour is Porsches, as we mentioned earlier, because as you can see around us, I've loved this 964, 911, with the like the whale tail at the back, and you can see, and also that's a very cool boxer spider right there.
If you want, I can just take a cloth and strangle him. If that'll help at all.
You should have come when I had a very nice 996 parked here. I can show you the photos and you can edit them in.
But I remember...
We'll add those photos in post.
Yeah, of course. I remember speaking to you a bit earlier saying that your eyes open to the world of Porsches. Now I need to know why, because of course Alfa's is a massive, passion of yours. We can
and you're part of the Alfa
about.
Club as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
So
it's just
it just shows his affiliation.
Seems to be Alfa, but now we're hearing about Porsches and stuff. So
I just want to hear why.
Well, really was ready to go public with this and come out of the closet, but now it's out there, I suppose.
Yours here first.
Come on.
We need to release it first, yeah.
I've always thought the 911 is a pretty car. It's just different. I like different stuff. I thought it was a pretty car, and a buddy of mine who's got a very big collection bought an 89 911, the 3.2. Does that sound right?
Could be.
Anyway,
what is it, 993?
No, it was a 911.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but
89 model.
89, okay.
So they were still called 911s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Anyway, be that as it may, so we went for the obligatory test drive, and look what are cars about? Cars about the senses. It's your eyes, your ears, how they feel.
How you experience everything.
The seat of the pants, it's the whole...
touch and feel.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
And we climbed in this car, and he started it, and I thought, it's a Beetle.
That is one of the most punchiest things anyone is ever to say about it. I know they're going to say it. I just have to calm down, because as soon as they get to drive it...
I've said that to Martin numerous times, and it's...
Went out in the Beetle. It went quick. It pulled well. But it was a Beetle.
Martin, are you going to stand up and run away? Or?
So, and that's sort of just... It's fine. I didn't even need... There wasn't the itch to scratch anymore, and it was just...
You had the experience,
and life. Yeah. It's not. It doesn't tick any boxes. Until recently, a good friend of mine, is a client and become quite a good friend of mine. He's got, I think the right word would be an eclectic collection of cars. And he stopped here one day. He's got a lot of Jags and stuff, and one of his cars was here, and he popped in just to see it. And he looked at me and he said, it was late afternoon. He said to me, Steve, you look like you've had a rough day. And I said,
yes.
He said, well, you know what? I've got one of my cars outside that you haven't seen yet. And I think you need to take it for a drive. And I go,
I want friends like that.
Yeah. So I said, okay, let's go have a look. And parked outside is a pitch black 997 convertible.
Okay.
Beautiful car. It's really a beautiful car. And he tosses me the keys and he says, go. I said, no.
Sorry?
This is Montague Drive.
Yeah, there's no way.
Past 5. I'm happy to take it for a spin, but you're definitely sitting next to me. Oh, all right, whatever. First thing that struck me, it didn't sound like a Beetle. Didn't feel like a Beetle.
And
we started off down the road. And... I'm going to irritate you even more.
That's also fine.
But the thing that struck me was the sound and something about the feel, but mostly the sound made me think of my GTA.
Okay. Interesting.
It's very, very smooth, but very deep and very raspy. Raspy, but sort
grumbly.
Of like an elegant grumbly.
Okay.
Grumbly, that's the right word. Feel to it, and you just tickle it and immediately shoves you
immediate
in the
response.
Beautiful handling, predictable. It ticks all the sensors boxes.
Okay.
Everything you can think of if you say the ultimate driving.
Literally you can actually drive this every day.
And I'm not surprised. I know this.
Yeah.
I know that.
Shut up, Martin.
It is no longer 89 911. It's just, and I was going, wow.
That's special.
This is actually a special car. It's an aspirational car.
Yeah.
And we went down Railway Road, came back, traffic, but it was still, I went home with an absolute huge smile. I fell asleep with a smile on my face. It's one of those cars.
From that experience.
That is special.
So, and I mean, I drive a lot of cars. There's very few of them who put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
Any BMWs, perhaps? Tickle my my senses a bit.
Haven't managed to put a smile on my face yet. Is
the car that won't be named.
Yeah. Well, from sorry, Japanese cars don't do it for me.
Ouch.
For me. So anyway,
I feel.
I said
attacked.
cars. I didn't say trucks.
Okay. Good point. Thank you.
Good save.
Yeah,
so anyway, and then what happened was I was asked to just do a couple of odds and ends on another client of mine's 996. It's actually on another car group that I'm on, Carbs and Coffee. And they give Jonathan all the appeal in the world about the headlights.
That was the ugly child, the ugly duckling between the 996s, the 911 generations. Yeah.
So anyway, I went to fetch the car in Killarney Gardens, which was like, I've never even met the gentleman at that stage, and he says to me, "Won't you go? Would you mind going to fetch my Porsche?"
It's fine, thanks.
Yeah, I'm not really. I don't know. It's been a long one.
Went to fetch the car. Not sure what to expect. Very nice car, very low mileage, beautiful car actually. A couple of little
niggles,
imperfections.
Yeah.
A really nice car. Started it up, and immediately I got the same buzz that I got from the 997.
Yeah.
Pulled it out, and as I got onto Coburg Road, while I was parked at the traffic light, no less than 5 City of Cape Town Metro Police cars come down the road.
Oh no. Party poopers.
Yeah, they literally shadowed me all the way to the shop.
Oh my gosh.
But so I couldn't even give it the tiniest of squirts. But the sound was there, and I actually said to Jonathan, "Listen, please, when you fetch this car, please just take me for a decent spin," which we did, and I was giggling like a schoolgirl. The only car that's made me giggle more than that is a Alfa Romeo Stelvio QV, which I was behind.
Oh, that should be interesting.
Yes, I can imagine that is something else.
And special.
Yeah.
I now have a problem. I've got another
scratch
car.
Yeah.
And you know what? The lights don't actually bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have the experience and it can put a smile on your face, then what's the point of worrying?
And also, you didn't see the lights when you drive, so.
Yeah, you don't see the lights when you drive. You just.
But the thing with the 996s, so of course this was the first water-cooled. So the 993 generation 911 was the last of the air-cooled, and then they swapped over to water-cooled. So all the, Porsche fanboys, aficionados just, went ballistic and were like, Porsche, what are you doing? So of course there are some reliability issues with the 996 generations, because this is the first water-cooled, six they've done. So this is like, I mean, I wouldn't say experimental, like Porsche are quite good at what they do.
Yeah, no, but it's just like the first time they started using it. So
but of course, so I'm 20 years old now, and I've been looking at my
What,
first...
are you 20?
That's right, yeah. I'm actually not 17. But now I've been looking into my a possible first car purchase now, because this podcast has just, flown out of the window. I mean, the amount of money we've been making from this far, joking, we aren't making anything.
Absolute nonsense.
But I've been looking into some purchasing a Porsche, my first one, and the 996, that same generation, the Carrera 4S. So.
Which is what I drive, by the way.
Yeah, that one. It also has this like long light strip at the back, which just looks super cool. So a good one, if you find like a average to good one in South Africa for between 600, 700,000 rand, like it's one of the lesser expensive Porsche generations, just because of people that like the 996 and the look of it, plainly. And that just, is a bonus for me, because I could think it.
So how many years are we giving you, Martin?
No, so I spoke to the dealership and I told them this will be about a 70-year transaction. So I'll be paying off
you'll be paying
every
off
month.
for 70 years. Yes.
Yeah, no, over 70 years I'll be paying off.
You'll be paying off to get the Porsche.
Yeah, I don't know. They're not very happy with me, which is, I don't know why.
I'm
a faithful customer.
I was about to say, I can't think why they would be unhappy with you.
No,
it doesn't make sense.
I'm just kidding with you all. But I really like the 996s.
If you haven't figured that out by the previous 7 episodes, that Martin likes Porsches.
Yeah, but anyway, he mentioned the Stelvio QV. So I'd really like to hear a bit of your experience with it. I don't know if you've driven the Giulia QV also. Not yet. So the Stelvio QV, this is Alfa's latest, well, basically the SUV.
The SUV.
But the QV or the Quadrifoglio is the sport version, their track SUV, or I don't know. That's probably the wrong way to do it.
But yes.
But yeah, 2.9 liter V6 twin turbo Ferrari developed engine. Makes an awesome sound. Quite probably one of the most desirable SUVs on the market at the moment. It looks awesome,
stunning.
Like I really like the lines of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not the Aston Martin DBX in terms of looks.
It's not,
but I still like it a lot. But anyway, if you'd like to share a bit of your experience, of course we haven't driven it. We don't have anything else to back by instead of, well, besides the YouTube videos that we watch. But how was your experience with that?
Mind-blowing. I actually, just before driving that, I got to drive the Jeep Trailhawk.
Oh,
the
yeah?
one with the Hellcat engine in.
The track,
wow.
Yeah.
So it was like, but it's like two divergent ideals. I'd love both of them. Although, before I would prefer to have the Giulia than the Stelvio.
Fair, me too.
I've driven the lesser Giulia.
The 2 liter.
Yeah. In fact, a buddy of mine who used to sell Alphas, he said to me when the Giulia was launched, he was still working for Alfa at that stage, and he said to me, Stephen, take everything you know about motor cars, everything you know about motor cars, and everything you think you know about motor cars, and just wipe it off the table.
Have a clean sheet in front of you and
yeah,
build on that.
Because you're not actually ready for.
Yeah, just be open to experience something
you're
new.
not actually. You just don't know until you've driven one. I was going, yeah, whatever.
Okay.
I own a GTA.
Yeah. What can be more exciting? I mean, it's
when the GTA was launched, I just like, it was like a bucket list car for me, and I actually managed.
Yeah.
To my surprise, I own one. And then the Alfa came with all these little 4-cylinder turbo jobbies, and I'm going, I'm sorted. I've got a
like VW.
I'm sorted. I'm not going to need another Alfa in my life. I've got a 155. I've got a GV6. I've got a GTA, and a couple of others. I'm sorted. And they launched the Giulia. Pretty car. And then I went to. It was actually quite a fun launch. I had it at. We picked up the whole bang shoot of journalists at the airport in Giulias.
Oh wow!
Old school Giulias.
Okay.
Oh, like the originals.
Yeah. So we picked them. Cool. Each one got to drive in a different Giulia. So we probably there were must have been like 10 of them, all the different variants.
Must have been something.
Drove through Frankfurt Motor Museum, and they launched the Giulia.
Wow.
And the thing is, I don't think I need to convince anybody that car is just gobsmackingly beautiful.
Yeah, no, it's.
And they had 3 QVs that they let these guys loose in.
Around the track there
at Frankfurt
Motor Museum's track.
They let these guys loose.
That's special.
And the worst was he's standing next to the track watching these oaks and going...
And not being able to drive it.
Yeah, you can't drive.
Yeah.
A testimony to the cars that they went off the track so seldom. And we tried everything we could, but they wouldn't let us loose with the QVs. So then one journalist, after losing the same oak, and it was just the one oak, it kept on losing it. After him losing it for the 3rd time, they pulled him in, and the test driver took the car out to check whether there was maybe something wrong with the car. And I managed to get in there.
So you said passenger in that?
Passenger. And he was in race mode. But he was not pushing at all.
Yeah.
I didn't know a car could go so quick without being pushed. And the sound, the YouTube video sound also.
Yeah. You can even from that.
But it still doesn't justify
it. It doesn't justify what it sounds like inside or from the outside. It's just like
as I said earlier, Alfa know how to get a proper exhaust note, even when you listen to this as well.
This might be controversial, but Jeremy Clarkson. Jeremy Clarkson actually had an opinion on the Giulia Quadrifolio's sound and the Stelvio, is that it's very monotone. So if you go listen to it, of course, increasingly it gets louder with the revs, and it is quite a raspy, grumbly, almost typical V8 sound, but V6. But it is very monotone. Like there's not a lot of character in that sound. And I went to listen to it again, and of course, like listening from a YouTube video, audio clip, it's not the same.
It's not the same.
So you don't really want to judge it as soon as possible. When you watch
just
it, but just from that. But just listening to the audio clip again with that in mind, in a sense, it might be true. But then again, like every car can't have like a Aventador V12 sound or old Alfa GTA. I think that's
one of if comparing that, even like that exhaust sound compared, let's say, to the Nissan GTR or whatever, with the 6 cylinders, and I think
you could argue that's also monotone. So in a sense,
you can argue that's also monotone, but I think it's one of the best notes that you'll get from a V6 engine.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's phenomenally good, and like you said now as well, I've only also experienced it from YouTube videos and stuff, but even from that, I can understand probably where Jeremy Clarkson comes in with saying that it's a bit monotone and stuff like that, but it still has a lot of character, I feel.
Yeah. So actually, it's a very good observation. Now that I've heard it said, it is. Yeah. But I can still listen to it all day.
Yeah, it won't bother you at all. It's just,
You play soundtracks while you're going to bed. While going to sleep,
Yeah, that's just how I wake up in the morning.
I would hazard a guess to say where he's coming from. Is comparing it to the Busso motor. The Busso motor will go from a grumble to a growl to a howl to, in some cases, almost a shriek.
So if you'd like to give a bit of a background on the Busso engine for those who might not be as knowledgeable in it. Where did it come from? Why is it so special? And what cars do you find it?
Where did it go? It's the classic V6 Alfa motor. It's been around since the 80s in there, although it originally started in the, if I'm not mistaken, in the actual, I think they put it in the sedan first, speaking under correction, but started its first incarnation as a 2.5 and worked its way up to a 3.2 in the later models. In there it was technically it's a single cam, but the cylinder head itself has a twin cam layout because they used a single cam driving shims on the one side with rockers on the other side. So you had and then in the later models, the front wheel drive models, they actually work 24 valves and quad cams. But it was voted car of the century a couple of years ago.
Sure.
Not car, engine of the century.
I can't remember. I think it was a British magazine. Not sure. But it's just.
That's brilliant.
It's an epic engine.
And it sounds amazing.
Lots of bottom end torque.
Yeah.
But it loves to rev. It just loves to rev. My GDA. When I got that car, and I mean, I've never been a rev boy, but when I first got my GDA, the biggest challenge was if you were having fun to stay off the limiter.
Okay. That's surprising.
Not expected to.
Just revs.
So
it's just a special engine.
But I just want to go back to the Giulia as well, with that experience of sitting passenger with a test driver. Would you say that was the best driving experience that you've had with, let's say, any car, that feeling, or is there something that you drove yourself maybe that was?
My bestest motoring experience was probably about 20. 20, early 20s. I already had an Alfa, so I must have been say about 21, 22. we'd actually gone up to George to buy a border collie puppy. With one of my project cars, which was a 2-liter Alfetta, and I managed to blow a head gas because I think a pipe popped without me noticing halfway up the Serpentine. Anyway, so I had a friend in George who had a hardware shop and restored Alphas for a hobby.
Yeah.
So I actually limped to his place and said, where can I have the car fixed? And he said, pull it in, help yourself, there's the tools, carry on. Pull the head
Just
off.
go for it.
And I was too embarrassed to tell him that I'd never worked on a inline 4, or I only knew the suit, so I just climbed in without a workshop manual and tried to take notes. And of course, there weren't cell phones to take photos with. Embarrassingly, I did drop the master link in the sump, so the job got a bit more involved. But anyway, be that as it may. So I pulled the head off, and we took it into engineering place in George, and now, of course, I've got this broken car. So Anthony says to me, there's the keys, take the 1750 back. We were staying in Wilderness, in Hookville actually. And at the top, I don't know if you know Hookville, you go up that lovely serpentine pass. Okay. 1750 Junior. I was like that one there in the corner. 2-door coupe.
Wow, sure.
And the 1750 is just the nice one. It revs. It's just sublime. And I hadn't driven very many juniors at that stage, and that car was sorted. And I drove that thing very gingerly back and the next morning we came back, and there were no speed traps and stuff at that stage. You know, that beautiful little pass you drive through?
Yeah. There's nothing that's going to halt you. Or
the Caimans or something, past the Caimans, you've got the Caimans River or something.
Yeah, then you follow up and you...
Like all these, like, speed cameras and stuff there now.
Yeah, it's hectic. It's 60 k's an hour.
Yeah. There was no speed limits. The road hadn't been widened yet. It was just this lovely mountain pass, little twisty bit with a cliff face next to you, so you hear the car's exhaust.
Of course.
And you just go through there with a raspy 1750.
Pedal to the metal and just...
No, I wasn't even going that quick.
Is it just for that?
It's just...
That sound and having that experience.
And remember, it's side draft Weber's, you can hear them even through the air cleaner, and it's just like... That's like right up there.
Yeah.
And that was just the ultimate. I mean, it's beautiful scenery, beautiful car, sound, everything. It's just like...
Everything that day was just perfect in that setting.
I've subsequently had one experience that came like this close to that, and that was a couple of years ago with my GTA, going through Outeniqua Pass. Also, early morning, light sprinkling of rain. That car also just sounds and handles brilliantly.
Yeah.
And it's got a nice sound system as well, so Dire Straits was singing quietly in the background.
Of course.
That was there. So that was my number 1 and 2.
I think in a few years we can ask you the same question after you've tested the new GTA M. And then driven in that.
What do you think about the new GTA M? Because there are some mixed opinions about this. I personally feel that, I don't know if you are familiar with the Jaguar XE Project 8. Okay, so the Project 8 was there was about 150 made, I think. Definitely, limited run. But this was a track-focused XE. So roll cage, took out the back seats, I think.
They took them out to make space for
the roll cage. Put in a roll cage, track-focused buckets, one massive wing, insane exhaust system, like even louder than the F-Type SVR.
I was about to say, if F-Type SVR can just stay away for a bit.
Yeah, that thing is extremely loud and was a very special car, very good driver's car, but very mixed emotions about it because it was extremely expensive. I think it was 50 to 60,000 pounds more than the XES. I think it was the S. Anyway, the higher spec XE. So people were like, okay, what are you trying to do, Jaguar? So now with the GTA M, I'm like, the QV is insane, but now what are you trying to achieve with
because
the GTA?
You're pushing the price up and you're giving less.
Are you trying to hark back to the original Giulia GTI M.
But hey, it's fine because you get a racing suit and a helmet.
Oh, but that's only with the M, of course. That's only with the one without the rear seats.
With the super track focus.
So I'm not sure what I think about it.
Yeah, I must say the QV race edition. It's already got ceramic brakes. It's already got carbon fiber seats. It's already posted a record Nürburgring time by a guy in khakis and a t-shirt. You know what the thing about Alfa Romeo is? It's so versatile. It ticks so many of the boxes.
So
it doesn't really make sense to me. Hey, and you know what? I've rolled a Alfa spectacularly. Didn't really need a roll cage.
It's not necessarily something that you might. It's just a bit too much then.
And I don't actually like the body kit.
Is it?
I'd say it's very much stick it on.
It is. It's a little bit too angular for me. It's a little bit too
like a Civic Type
R. It's like a little bit too.
It's a little bit Civic Type R.
Yeah, I'm thinking like it's like Civic Type R style, but that's the thing that I love about it because it's so different. And they were just like, we're going to do this now. And they did it. And now it's the most extreme you'll get for.
Alfa Romeo is an Italian company.
Italians are crazy.
A couple of bottles of vino and anything looks like a good idea.
That's true. On the one side,
Italians are watching this. You don't know where we live, so it's fine.
The QV already.
It's the ultimate car. It's the ultimate car. You can't
already
add to perfection. You can't. You
can make it lighter, but then why? Just
I don't know why.
So a carbon fiber one.
That's
the other thing.
That's true.
Titanium drive shaft.
What more? Point? But with the GTI and the GTI M, logic says why would you go full on track spec with a sedan? If you want to go full on track spec with any car, do it with a 911 or I don't know, old 3 Series if you want to really. But things, cars you're actually going to take out on track. Let's be honest, you aren't going to really take out your QV on track. Like maybe now and then, but this isn't going to be your go-to track car. So
you still want that power even when you're just driving and there's 4 people in the car.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, what petrolhead, what car guy doesn't love an obnoxious idea coming from a popular car brand and actually it bring to life. Like no one's going to buy the Project 8. There's quite a few in the second-hand market, not here, but I mean overseas. And everybody is still just, it's such a laughable thing in the terms of, how it sounds, how it drives. Like it's insane what it does. Logic doesn't make sense, but how many cars?
But that's the other thing. I know we were like talking about this now and saying it's extra and it doesn't really make sense. But to be honest, if I had the money to buy any of those cars, I would most definitely do it. Just because it is so ridiculous and what it does.
I mean, not even a Stelvio QV is logical because why?
No,
would you
why? Yeah, exactly. Why would you want? It's not like you're gonna hurtle up a mountain and chase a ski or something. Like, why would you have something so powerful? But again, that's just how people like things. I suppose.
The more mundane Stelvios are insanely quick already. I've driven them through the back roads of Durbanville. In fact, a salesman took myself and a mate of mine. We went out with 3 Stelvios, 3 different spec, not the QV. And we were cruising through the back road. And I was at the back. And I came around the corner and the 2 guys in front had hit the brakes because a truck or a tractor or something pulled out. But I literally had to hit the brakes mid-corner. And you know what happens if you hit the brakes mid-corner?
Yeah.
You get sideways.
Slip sliding away.
It was like, ooh, nice. And it was like, it turned from a split second of, it turned into a delightful
skid
balance.
It was just beautiful as well.
Yeah.
Stopped and that's
so easy to bring back.
So I mean, the last thing I went out with the intention of doing was putting a Stelvio into a slight drift.
Yeah. But you did it and it
happened anyway. And it was, I was going, can we do some more of this?
Again.
So before our PT Cruises segment, I would like to ask one more question. And I think this could be quite interesting to hear. So if you had to rate your top 3 driving experiences, what would it be? Because we've heard of the
1 and 2 that you...
What is it, the
1750 GT Junior. Well, 1750 GTV.
Yeah. So that would be number 1, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you had to take the top 3 driving experiences, because you've had some cool experiences, you had some very cool drives. And if the GTA isn't in there, then I don't know.
Well, the GTA was the same, but I think maybe it was great doing that same or similar route with the GTA. But number 2 would probably be the night I took delivery of my GTA. Coming back from, it was Gary Green, Alfa Romeo in the city. We had an Alpha Club meeting there, and I got the GTA on the same night.
Yeah, that's
so of course, we stayed extra late to make sure that everyone was quiet. That was like just wow, because I'd driven GTAs before, and I knew how good they were, but mine slightly modified as well, and it was just it was like wow,
very memorable.
Number 3, it would have probably been the Stelvio. Yeah, there's very few cars that have made me giggle.
So before the Stelvio drive, of course, you were told, forget about what you know about cars. And
that was before the Giulia drive.
That was before the Giulia drive.
That was before the Giulia drive. And I must say that was 100%. It was just, and I didn't drive it very far.
Yeah.
But it was just, a 2-liter is not supposed to be that quick. It's not supposed to be that quick. It's not, I would actually love to take a Giulia on a nice long trip still.
Yeah. And see what it does and how it...
But it's spectacular. Ironically, I've driven Stelvios more than I've driven Giulias.
Yeah.
The Giulia is the one I want.
Yeah. I'd really like the Giulia Speedwagon. I've got. The SUV is more than enough.
Just one more thing before we head on to the PT Cruiser.
The PT Cruiser might be extended.
It might be extended, but
quite a while.
There's a certain brand of cars that you don't like so much.
Oh yes,
it's very controversial. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. It's fine. It's understandable. But I'm gonna ask you. Exactly, it might be bad for business. So if you refuse to ask a question, that's completely understandable. But I would like you to rate the Toyota Hilux as a whole range from Toyota. And
in general, your opinion.
Just in general, your opinion on the Toyota Hilux, not necessarily the brand. It's just take the bucky and work with that. If you don't want to answer, it's fine. But it's just an interesting thing. It's always good to hear some different things going from the all the Legend series to the new Legend 50, the D4D, the 3 liters,
the Dakar,
everything.
Okay, well, I always used to say, if you want to buy a bucky, buy a Hilux. Because they're indestructible.
Yes.
As Top Gear has proved. But I've also been on 4x4 routes with a much lowlier Jeep than this, and watched the Jeeps climbing the obstacles and watched the Hiluxes struggling to get to the obstacles.
We're angering a lot of white Afrikaans guys now at this moment.
So, you know what? They're very good and they're very reliable vehicles. And I must say one thing for Toyota that I've picked up in this environment, their service and their parts backup is second to none. We have a lot of frustrating experiences waiting for parts for a whole range of vehicles. But Toyota, I must give them the thumbs up. Their parts backup is pretty.
Yeah, that's good for business.
But I don't like their styling. I simply don't like the styling of most Japanese or Korean cars. if I had to buy a bakkie tomorrow, it would probably be a Ford bakkie, despite all their... I just like the look. I like how it drives. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a Fiat Strada bakkie over there, little 1200, with 300 and something thousand Ks on the clock. Original engine.
Keep it Italian.
Keep it Italian.
Is that even built in Italy?
Lesson for the
I don't
day.
even know if that bakkie is
I think they were built in Brazil.
No,
I think
probably just ship the parts and assemble
but
it
hey,
here or something.
it's Fiat, you know. Fiat owns
Fiat.
Alfa, so
Exactly.
let it be in that way.
Stick to the Italians.
And of course, I'm waiting to get my other bakkie, which is waiting for me. I bought it February 2 years ago. And I went after working on the farm for about, how long was it? Probably 3 years. Longer, could have been longer. The only Jeep bakkie in the country. They were built in America. They were called the Comanche.
The Comanche.
Oh, yes.
I've never heard
It's
of
a
it.
bakkie, yeah.
So that's the one that's coming now.
Yeah, it's standing at my friend's place in Springbok. But I'm going to drive it down.
Oh, of course, why
about
not?
5 years when I bought it. So we trailered it from Ochrabies to Springbok
Oh.
with the help of a Land Cruiser.
Nice.
Oh.
Land Cruiser pulling through. I mean,
Yeah.
Great towing capabilities, reliability.
So and it was heavy enough. So yeah, that's like.
So in terms of Land Cruisers, just quickly, what do you think about the Land Cruiser 6x6s? I don't know if you've seen any of those, but I know in Stellenbosch where we live.
What happened was there's a company in Australia called Patriot Campus, and they built the Super Tour, the Mega 6x6, and then a South African businessman went to them and said, can I open a branch for you guys in South Africa? And we started distributing these because I might have a mark for them, and they said no, they won't take it to SA. And he said, okay, I'll just design my own. So he started work, and I think he pushed them out of Joburg. They cost about 7 million or something.
For the rebuild without the bakkie.
I think it's excluding the bakkie. You bring the bakkie to them, and then they do all the adjustments and get the rest of the stuff and build the whole thing up. It looks great. It looks insane. I can't think that it's any the fuel economy and everything like that is practical in a sense. But let's say you had the money. Would you buy a 6x6 for any reason?
It's pointless.
Great.
I have, of course, driven the G6.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can go tell Yanni Mouton. I've driven in one.
No, I've driven, my boss had one.
Has one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So I've driven that up Helswichter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That was quite fun. That was real fun.
It could be fun.
That thing is mental.
Yeah, I can.
But
just why?
Why? Yeah, just because I can.
Yeah, exactly. That's the exact reason.
Precisely why.
I mean, you've got Ponstein in Somerset West that built the 6x6 Defenders.
Defenders, yeah.
And put LS motors in it, 440 kilowatts or something. They push out of an LS2 motor in the 6x6. And the amount of times people have got into car crashes and stories that I've heard from these 6x6 because they can't stop the thing fast enough. That's the biggest issue.
I can only think it's because it doesn't have the same off-road capabilities as a Jeep.
Probably, yeah.
But I won't go off-roading.
No, you won't because it's too expensive to fix it.
I would trot through waterfront, just drive through there.
Drive up the stairs or something just to prove a point.
I almost completely forgot. There was a car I wanted to ask you about, but I don't know how well you know this car. But anyway, there's a company called Alfa Hilux, and they also make an Alfa Hilux GTA. And this was, I don't know a lot about Alphas, but I know of the test drive that Chris Harris had with the Alfa Hilux GTA, and he said it was one of the most memorable and insane experiences ever with a car, because it's such a, well, of course, firstly it's nostalgic because it takes you back to the original, but it's such a well-balanced, well-engineered, good-sounding, awesome driver's car. And of course, there's not, I don't know of an Alfa Hilux GTA in South Africa, but what is your opinions on that car? Because I mean that could be the pinnacle of what Alfa is.
That's very aspirational. The products that they produce are absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I believe, I'm speaking under correction, I think there are some Alfa Romeo products on that car.
Oh, wow.
The gentleman who owns that car.
Actually,
owns,
yeah, there could be.
Both a Junior, in other words, the GDV, the coupe, as well as the Giulia sedan.
Yes.
And both of those cars are quite well kitted out with Alfa Hilux parts. In fact, I was at the workshop when it was being fitted to the coupe, and I had a good look at them, and it's
it's
phenomenal. The type of stuff it's so beautifully engineered that you'd almost feel it's a waste to put it on the car. It's the type of thing you could put on
like a mantelpiece.
Beautiful. Just the exhaust manifolds, the special brakes. Well, you can buy just about anything. It really is special. I mean, they do the twin spark cylinder heads and all that sort of. So it's fabulous.
It reminds me of my all-time favorite car, and it will probably forever be, is a Singer 911. It's the same principle, and your waiting period to, for them to start building your car is a few years, and then they build your car, and it's only about 2 to 5 years later that you get your car. But every single detail is so meticulously engineered, and that's just something that
about
if that is a massive passion of yours, like Alfa for him, Porsche for me, like that's definitely something to aspire to. And even if you don't, get to own one or even drive one, just the idea of it and what they achieve with that kind of meticulous design and engineering and what they do to those cars, it's just taking it back to the glory it has in everybody's heads. So this is like what you believe the GTA is, or the 911, and they just exceed that expectation. So those companies are, I don't think they should be all around. I don't think that should be a common car.
It takes away a bit of that exclusivity.
I think there should be a car that you never ever see. I think there should be a car that that is very rare in a sense, because it just continues to make it that special.
Exactly.
So long live those kind of companies, as Singer, as Alfa Hilux, as Tatil, as you can name a few. But Luke, I think we can move on to our PT Cruiser segment. I don't know if you've seen some of the videos, but it's a rating system that we might have gotten from a certain car show. It might have been adapted.
Might have been adapted. Where we get some cars and we rate them. Should I go first or?
Go for it.
So the car that's been a dream car of mine for a while now is the Audi RS7.
The Audi RS7.
Audi RS7, and I know the reliability on those are not the best. Like for the previous generation, I don't know for the newer, new released RS7s, but stunning car, powerful, 5-seater, 4-door. Big, robust, angry, great sound.
Does everything.
Luxury
also.
It looks good. I don't know. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Audi RS7 is a great car. It's just the reliability that you can't drive the car for dead because it won't last till then. But Martin, you have any opinions on the RS7?
From what I've seen of the RS7, I also quite like it, is that it's basically a 4-door R8 in terms of the performance.
Yes.
If you, of course, it won't be to the extent of the R8 in terms of balance and handling necessarily, but in what it achieves, insane. Insane.
I just wish Audi would stop using soft limiters on their cars.
That's unfortunately something that happens with the new particulate filters and everything, all the regulations. That's the only issue
I have with Audi, but
flipping global warming.
Exactly. Any opinions on or nothing to say for?
I like any, shall we say, eccentric cars.
Something different.
If it's louder than it really needs to be, if it's quicker than it really needs to be, if it's
everything is just over the top, then it's fine.
Happy with that. So it's called character.
Exactly.
You don't get it in modern cars anymore.
That's true. That's true. Struggles a bit to embrace that. And
I'm good to rate.
I'm
cool.
Cool.
I don't think you can. And you?
That's definitely cool.
Definitely great stuff.
I don't think you can say anything else about that car.
It's just.
So mine is quite an interesting one. So a Golf Mark 1, but not the GTI, just a normal.
The standard.
And why I say the Golf Mark 1 is because I saw there's not speculation, literally a guy put up the last built Golf Mark 1. The last built one for 1.2 million rand.
It's number 3. There's one. I saw that there's one in a museum somewhere. Another guy's got one, I think, in Europe, and then this is the third.
Like it looks
one,
like
2,
new.
And 3 from the last. Yeah, it looks brand new.
I don't know if it's even driven. Probably has delivery miles, 0 mileage.
Yeah.
But 1.2 million rand. I saw this video of this guy calling him and saying, "You have the Golf in stock?" And he said, "Yes." Which one are you talking about? I'm talking about the 12,000 rand one. I said, "No, that's not 12,000 rand. That's 1.2 million." He's like, "I'll buy an Nissan GTR for that money." Like, are you smoking something? And I was like, "What is this about?" Man, I actually saw it was one of the last built. Well, probably the last.
Yeah, it was the last. There was the last 3 that came out of the line, and they have their badges inside.
I'm like, wow, okay. Cool, but you can get a Mark 1 GTI or a Mark 2 GTI for way cheaper, a fifth.
You can buy a warehouse full of City Golfs for the amount of that you pay for that one, and it's not like you're going to drive it. I mean, if
the moment you drive it, it's worth 20 grand.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the moment you start rolling around with it, then you know what's the.
But okay, let's say we forget about the 1.2 million rand
let's say
and we go back to the Golf Mark 1.
We all make 2 million a month. Let's say that's our
forget about
salary.
the price. Forget about that one specifically. Just think about the Golf Mark 1 now.
Yeah.
And what it represents and what it served as. I mean, wow, I don't know of I actually I know of quite a few people who have that as a first car. And not just as a first car, but who drove it like in their working years.
Yeah, throughout.
My mom had one, a blue one.
It's probably one of the cars in South Africa that you find parts for the easiest. It's accessible in all areas of
And later on, of course, you had the trend line and such, and it was not that, old in terms of technology. It had aircon, it had radio. So later on, enough improvement for you to be able to just drive it as a daily. Not that old. But anyway, I quite like the Golf Mark 1. That just... shook me a bit. Seeing it was 1.2 million rand for basically a new one. But anyway, what are you guys' thoughts on the Mark 1 GTI? Not GTI,
not just the Mark 1
Golf.
As Stephen said now as well, the minute you start driving, it's just a it's
that one specific.
Yeah, that one specific now. But I'm thinking like it is a good car in the sense that you can do a lot with it. It's simplistic also in the sense, but I've never been a fan really of those Volkswagen Golfs and stuff, and it's from driving in a lot of them, and obviously it's a good car to have because it's practical and all the
it's a benchmark for the car, the automobile.
I know, but I don't know. It's not such a
doesn't light the fire, doesn't bring back I don't know memories. Or
my memories is in a Toyota Conquest. It's not a City Golf, so
fair.
Sorry, I said the brand that shouldn't be named. I apologize.
1,001 housewives can't be wrong. Yeah, I distinguish a Mark 1 Golf from a City Golf. That's a City Golf.
Yeah, that's a City Golf.
Essentially a Mark 1, but not quite.
Not the Mark 1.
I would almost rather have a Mark 1 Golf than a City Golf.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that the quality of them actually deteriorated, or I don't know. I've no ambition to own one, but I recall a number of years ago, I came out quite strongly on the forum when the guys were wanting the death of the City Golf because it's so unsafe and it's got no airbag, it's got no ABS and and it actually upset me tremendously because the City Golf I think was a very honest motor car. It wasn't anything that it didn't pretend to be.
It didn't try to be anything.
It was straight there and it was to the point, and that was it.
Exactly. And it put a new car within the reach of thousands of South Africans. Right until the end when they canned it and they replaced it with a Polo, and I don't know, Polo will just never have the charm of a Mark 1 Golf.
No, definitely not.
And I think the Polo is also the most stolen car in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
No. Surely the old Corollas or...
No, I'm pretty sure it's the Polo because it's more people driving around with them across the country.
The old Corollas left anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay. I didn't know that. Hopefully mine's still outside.
Sorry, Mom.
And of course the standing joke is somewhere in the world you're going to come across a Mark 1 Golf that's quicker than you no matter what you drive.
Yep, that is true. Yeah.
So...
yeah.
I must say, like, of course, it's not something super special. It's not like a special edition, but just the idea of the Golf. Like, how many cars are compared to a Golf to prove something? Or you compare to a Golf in terms of comfort, compare to a Golf in terms of reliability, or how easy to get parts. You know, so the Golf is a legend, will always be a legend. But specifically the Mark 1 started quite a good legacy. So for me, it's a cool car. I like the Golf. Okay, dead average, fair enough. For you?
The jury's out. It's a cooler car than a Polo.
Well, definitely.
There we go.
I would agree. Yeah.
It's a cooler car than a Polo. Well, I quite like the Golf 2.
The Golf 2 is especially GTI, but of course, any GTI.
I had quite a bit of fun. A mate of mine had a Golf 2 GTI, and that was a lot of fun.
Toyota Conquest to the win.
Cool.
So you also
say
see,
cool also.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the cool has overruled the dead average. So the Golf is cool.
That settles it. The Golf Mark 1 is a cool car. But yeah, I think that concludes our episode for today. It was a bit of a longer one, but we had some good chat. We had some good conversation. I believe it was insightful for the viewers.
Yeah,
and
also
just seeing some cars around us and not just antiques or windows or anything not interesting. But thank you for joining us today. It was such
Thank you so much for hosting us as well.
It was a very
wonderful
nice
workshop.
hearing your insightful viewpoints and much more knowledgeable outlook, of course.
But more experience than we have.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
So
and showing us these wonderful machines we have here.
But thank you very much. We appreciate it, Luke, as always. Thank you for being here. Your hair looks very good. So does your beard.
Thank you.
Beard oil?
Beard oil. If one of the cars leaks, can you get all the oil together so I can start?
I don't do a lot of Land Rovers, but I'll
I hope my dad isn't listening to this podcast now because
that is a good one.
Both my dad and my brother will be angry now, but it's fine. Actually, I thought about doing a Land Rover for the PT Cruiser segment, but I'm happy I didn't. So it would have been a better.
I still aim for misbehavior at my wedding, so.
That will not be another episode.
No. I'll stick to that story not being told on any platforms or.
Yeah.
It's safe than sorry.
But check out our social media throughout the week. We post some cool stuff. We are trying to make it a bit more personal. So you'll see some more Martin and Luke content, however that may look. That is anyone's guess.
However that may look.
Yeah. But
we've got some good videos as well of some of these.
We've got some good videos
of some of these machines.
Some 3-4 second videos.
You'll probably see them as well.
Awesome sound from this one. Very
fantastic
cool sound
and there's a special surprise at the back there that you'll see.
Oh yeah, that may also be released or shown. But we'll definitely engage with you as much as we can on our social media. So as I dared you, share this video. I dare you. Let's see if you can do it.
I double dare you. He dared you, now I double dared you. So now I have to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry, you have no choice.
But hopefully you enjoyed this one. We will see you next week. What the next week's episode
we'll figure it out.
We don't know. We'll figure it out as we go week by week. But continue loving cars. Because why? Because it's cheaper than drugs.
Because loving cars are cheaper than drugs. Cars are cheaper than drugs.
Cheers.
Loving cars are cheaper.
Have a good one.